Lamont, from Vice President from Bentley Systems. Thanks for joining us here at this Straight Talk event. We heard a lot from Mark Bew about obviously meeting the 2016 April target, and of course they've now introduced a stretch target to really, I suppose, validate the quality of data. You work a lot with owner operators. Is this, making sure that owner operators can really I suppose assess the quality of their data and use it properly? That's a big issue for you.
Yeah, we do spend quite a lot of time talking to owner operators because I think that there is a danger that the term BIM is so general that they just write in the contract document, supply them with a BIM, but don't really understand what they want to get from the information.
Yeah.
And of course the value in the information is the longevity of the data throughout the life cycle of the building.
Yeah.
So the idea is to be able to work with the owner operator, the client, so they can define to the chain, the supply chain, what they want.
Right, yeah.
Otherwise, if you don't define that and you don't tell them, you don't ask them to, then they're just going to supply you what they think you want.
Yeah. So this stretch target in October, then that's really important for you.
It is. I think it's a good opportunity for the industry to understand in a little bit more detail about the definitions of the deliverables. We're seeing that a lot in the Crossroad, where they actually work with the supply chain, educating them why they need the data in a specific format and specific data information tagged to it, so they can actually use it in the long term.
But I suppose the challenge that you see when you're talking to owner operators of infrastructure is getting people's heads around this whole idea of the value of data across the whole life of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Are you making progress in getting that message across?
I think we are. We've seen a big improvement in requests from owner operators. We're seeing a lot of larger global firms now saying actually the data is more important, and they're validating that. The whole cloud situation is an interesting one, because that is now coming to a point where they're suddenly realizing they can store the data in a central place instead of dotted all over the globe, and that means they can then start to interrogate that data more readily. Which means they have to understand more readily what they're actually defining there and putting there.
Because it is that ability to use the data back to the data analysis. I mean, you've seen some great things in South Australia water, where you're actually using predictive analysis to drive and better operate your infrastructure. Is that that's around the corner, but it's with us right now. But that's where you're trying to help your clients to get to.
Yeah. So as a software vendor, I guess what we're trying to do is we're taking that data and we're going to enhance it with attributes which are more meaningful. It has to be broken down into an object database, and then secondly, then you have to add functionality around the software which utilizes that data. And that'll come in the form of either cloud services, or it'll come in the form of particular applications which then start to utilize it and then make it more useful. So preventative maintenance is an example where we have products which actually do that as well.
We also, Mark was talking a lot about skills, and of course culture and changing cultures in the industry. Bentley is 30 years old this year, and of course over that 30-year period you've seen a huge shift in culture. I suppose, and I mean, are you seeing, are you seeing the industry really embracing data? I suppose rather than just embracing BIM and the ability to draw better pictures.
Yeah. So it's interesting because the discussion BIM, you can discuss this for hours, but BIM has been and gone several times in our career. I've been in the industry over 30 years now. I've watched various aspects of the industry pick it up and run with it and then drop it. So my conclusion was the products and the 3D modeling is there, as always has been there. The interesting thing is, how do you utilize data and how do you actually communicate between the project teams? So I see now that the massive adoption, which is led by the UK, by the way, wherever I go in Europe, Middle East, Africa, or anywhere else, I'm seeing they're all referring back to the UK. So I think the UK PLC thing is actually a real living thing. It's a fantastic step.
And of course, the UK, to give a plug to your UN Infrastructure Conference, is where you're bringing, I suppose, the whole community together. What do you expect to get out of that? I mean, what are the big messages you're going to try and get out across the industry in your UN Infrastructure Conference?
So I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly here what we're going to be announcing. That'll be announced obviously on the day. But just to give an indication, what we're doing is we're focusing more on the project's content and the deliverables of those projects, so that it becomes faster and more efficient to deliver those projects, get them set up and run. And then secondly, that once you've got that data there, that you can then start to enforce standards on project teams, so they're not all making up their own standards and their own libraries and everything else. So you ramp up your project time a lot faster.
Yeah. So it's using that, I suppose, the technology as an enabler.
It is,
rather than it being the product in itself.
Right. And then, of course, from there, you'll be able to then start to data mine your projects. If you've got all your projects on the ProjectWise site, then you can start to investigate and interrogate those projects to see how you're progressing, how the supplier chain's doing, which projects are going to be offline, which are going to be finishing on time. So you'll also be able to benchmark yourself against your own projects internally, but perhaps also in the future against external data.
It's a fascinating world at the moment in terms of the way that BIM is changing the industry. Thanks for joining us here, and I look forward to catching up a bit more at the Infrastructure.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.